Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we are back with another episode of Safety Check. Last week was 5. This week it is Ascension, the Russian Cosmodrome. Let's see what it has in store for us. Okay, here we are. A bit dark in here, which could be a bit of a concern. That could also be a bit of a concern for a safety check, but we'll get back to that. We want to go through the smaller hazard first. But before we do that, I want to get a bit of light. I need the place to look a bit brighter. Much better. Right, now we can look at safety in this place. The first thing I'm going to spot out is there's a lot of things that you could fall over here. Like these, for example. They look quite big and trippable. Again, you got more of them here. More big tripping hazards. We got random cables all over the floor, which ain't great. You could definitely fall over those. Tires on the corner. I mean, you're less likely to fall over these, but I guess you could in theory. A few more cables here you can fall over, which ain't great. Pallets randomly left on the floor, not good as well. More pallets left on the floor, never a good sign. I mean, come on, guys. You guys need to clear up here. But yeah, I would say tripping hazards is definitely on there. I'm not going to rate it very high because I'm taking into account the size of the map. And for the size of the map, the amount of tripping hazards it does have isn't too bad. So I'm going to give it a 90 out of 100. Next up on the list, I'm actually going to go with hygiene, I think. I've had a little look around. Again, it's not terrible, but there is a lot of blood on the floor. Like there's blood there, and there's blood here, more in here, loads dragged across the floor. And this is just the starting room. Everywhere along the walkways. I mean, there's a foot there. That's never hygienic. And there's, this guy just chilling. Dead body on the table, collecting flies. Not great. So hygiene is definitely going to be an issue here. I can't lie. I think if it wasn't for the dead bodies, it would have got a 90. But I think because of the dead bodies, it's going to have to get an 85. Because again, taking into consideration the size compared to the amount there is, I'd say that's about right. Next up, I'm looking around and there is, from what I can see, some small fires around certain parts of the map. I mean, there's fire here, which I can't get to, which is good, but I can get to this part. Nothing major, but that could burn me slightly. Another small one here that could hurt me. There is one there, but that's a separate hazard, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. Don't you worry. So yeah, there's definitely a chance for some low tier burns. Again, there's not a massive amount, so I don't think I can put it too high up in terms of score. I'm going to give it a total of 80 out of 100. But I think that will do for the low tier hazards that we have. The next category we're going to look at now, medium tier. And I've already spotted a few medium tier hazards. Trust me. And first off, where we're talking about high tier burns. That is a bigger fire. That could definitely hurt. This is a bigger fire. That could definitely hurt more. So there are a few areas which could really cause us some damage. But I am going to be generous because there are only the 2 areas I'm looking at right now. Apart from the one that I mentioned around the corner here, which I can't actually get to too much. So I'm not going to be too concerned about that. But high tier burns is going to get a 60 out of 100. Just to prove my point even more for high tier burns, I mean, look in there. You wouldn't be able to walk through that without massively burning your body. So yeah, we definitely need to put high grade burns on here. Now, the next medium tier risk that I have spotted already is one that we actually haven't come across yet. And it has to do with these bad boys right here. Yes, forklifts. The medium tier risk that we have never used before is vehicle. Now, we all know that vehicles can be dangerous. I mean, this one looks like it was crashed into the corner here and they dropped everything on the pallet. So our drivers clearly don't know what they're doing. On top of that, there's just a randomly parked forklift here. It's been parked on an uneven surface where the barrels have fallen off. That's not good. That could be explosive for all I know and it could blow me to smithereens. And there's another one here. Just left equipment on the end of the forks, parked in the middle of the road. I mean, do these guys know anything about parking these things? I mean, I don't want to brag, but I actually have a forklift license, That's all I'm saying. And in my training, I was told to never, ever leave a forklift in the middle of the road. It has to be put away in a certain parking spot. It's just not on, man. So for the first time ever, we are going to put vehicles in a medium tier risk category, and I'm going to give it a total of a 55 out of 100. And the reason they get 55 is mainly because this one looks like it has been crashed into this spot and everything has fallen off. So that's not good. Last but not least, for our medium tier category, we are going to go with falling. Now, we have always talked about the importance of safety rails in map. So why is this bit broken here? I mean, look at the size of this drop. That could really hurt if I didn't have Jug. The same situation here. There's a massive hole in the wall. I could just fall down here. I did. Again, if I didn't have Jug, that would have hurt. You cannot just have holes around buildings where people could fall off and hurt themselves. That's not good enough. So falling is going to end up in our medium tier risk category, and it's going to get a grand total of 55. And now I know I did just say that was the last one for the medium tier risk category, and I was about to move on to the high tier risk, but I have just noticed that there are a bunch of cables here that actually have sparks coming on. That's not good. And on top of that, there's a load of glass here as well, which I could hurt myself on. So I think we're going to have to add both shrapnel and electrocution to the list. Now, these are the only areas I've seen glass and the chance to be electrocuted on, and they're not massive, so I'm actually going to put electrocution a bit higher than normal. I'm going to class it as a low tier, and I think both of these are going to get a 90. With that said and done, we can now move on to the high tier risks. Oh my god, that's a big fire. Thank god we put high grade burns in. Just want to test to see if this would kill me. Will it push me out of the way, or will I die? Okay, so that's a high tier risk. I think we've just found ourselves our first miscellaneous risk of the map. I could put it under being crushed, I guess, but this is very specific to Ascension. The lander, I'm going to skip right ahead and put a miscellaneous category in here. The landers are going to be a safety risk. And actually, considering that killed me straight away with Jug, that's going to get a 10. That might be one of the lowest scores that has ever been received on a safety check so far. All right, next up, I found our first high risk tier, and it's going to actually be these vehicles. As you can see, they got signs on them, and the signs indicate that they're flammable. And if they're flammable, that means there's a chance that they can explode. I mean, this is one lorry here, for example. There's plenty of barrels that could be flammable and explode. And the more I go around the map, there's more and more barrels just out in the open. I mean, there's more there. There's more there. There's more barrels. The barrels are just everywhere on this map. And just to make my point even more, like we spotted out earlier, this lorry is actually on fire. So this has exploded. And can I say, driver, that doesn't look comfortable, but we'll carry on. Another lorry on fire, and there's petrol all over the floor. You can tell by the discolorization. And the fact that it's leaking. Explosions is definitely a high risk factor here, and it's going to get a 20 because that is so likely to happen. I have a feeling, guys, that this map is actually going to be one of the lowest rated maps so far. Even worse than the likes of Shinonuma. I have a feeling, guys. Just in time. Another high tier safety risk is about to happen. All I'm going to say is, did you hear all those explosions happening right now? Those are our good old monkey friends dropping in, say hello. There they are. Look at them. And how do they get here? They spawn in on their good old little spaceship pod thing. And one of those could easily fall on your head. And while they're busy stealing my perks, it's quite easy to get distracted and end up... Excuse me, guys. Get off my juggernaut! Oh, yada. Yeah, I just got distracted by the monkeys bit. But like I was saying, these things could easily distract you, like I just mentioned, and you could actually get crushed by their landing pods. It's quite unlikely that you would, but to add to that, I did notice things like this. That could just fall on your head. So being crushed is going to be added, and I think I'm going to give it a 30 out of 100. Yeah, I think that's all of the high tier risks. I do have 2 more miscellaneous risks to show you on this map though. This is the first time I've had 3 miscellaneous risks on one map. Normally I hardly even get 1, let alone 3. But can you guess what the second one of this map is going to be? Yes, it is this monstrosity of a machine. Now, I can't remember exactly what they're called, but basically they spin around really, really fast. Everyone that's played this map knows what it does. Let's be honest. It's basically to get astronauts used to going up in space and living in space, you know, the journey up and whatnot. And let's be honest, as we all know, if this thing hits you while it spins, it's gonna kill you. For that reason, I can't not give it anything but a 15 out of 100. I mean, we're just about to see exactly what it does in action. Look at it spin. That's gonna hurt you. Imagine if that bonked your you on the head, you'd be dead. And last but not least, our final issue of the day. If these zombies let me do it, there we go. Rocket explosion. And it only cost me my life to do it. Look at all the debris, all the fire, everything that went everywhere on that map. There's not many places where you wouldn't die if that was you. And it was worth losing the ray gun just to see. A massive rocket of that size exploding all over this map is guaranteed to kill you. Let's be honest. So I think I'm going to have to give it none other than a 10. So that means we found every single issue with this map that I can tell of. So now we're going to see if there's any safety features. And straight away, I'm seeing some safety features. We got warning signs like hazards, electric hazards to be specific. More electricity hazard signs, which is always good. I don't know what that says, so I'm just going to skip it. We have flammable signs on the trucks. Go away. Flammable signs on the trucks to let us know that they are hazardous and they could explode in your face and burn. I guess this is a warning sign of sorts for this thing. I mean, you definitely have to be aware that this is going to kill you. Then there's another warning flame sign there. I don't really know what that one is, but it's a warning sign. And there's more flammable signs here, which is always good. So Ascension is definitely going to get a +5 for safety signs. Now, I know I did criticize it earlier for some falling spots like this one, but I must admit there is another safety feature, which is railings. Yes, there are some areas that aren't very good or are broken, but the majority of the railings are intact. Like these railings here are fine. The railings on these stairs are perfectly fine. And for the majority of the railings on these parts here, they are also fine, apart from this tiny little bit here. So even though there is a slight issue here with this one, I am going to give it a +5 for railing. Okay, so that is all of the hazards that we found on this map. And just to list them off, because there are quite a few. We have tripping hazards with a 90, hygiene with an 85, low tip burns with an 80, high grade burns with a 60, vehicles with a 55, falling with a 55, electrocution with a 90, shrapnel with a 90, lunar landers with a 10, explosions with a 20, being crushed with a 30, aero trims. I know that's not the actual term for what that thing is, but that's the closest to it, kind of. So I'm going to call it that anyway, with a 15, and rocket explosion with a 10. Now, if we put all of those scores together and combine them to get the mean total, Ascension gets an overall rating of a 53 out of 100. That is so low. And that is because it got a grand total of 13 different risks. It's definitely failing at this point, but we do have to take into consideration that it did have two types of safety features on the map as well, being safety signs for a +5 and railings for a +5, meaning that overall Ascension gets a grand total of 63 out of 100. But I'm not done with this map yet, because to have 13 different hazards is ridiculous. Let's put it this way. Kino, that has the same rating, only had a grand total of 7 hazards. That's nearly double. So we are going to add yet another rule. If you get over 10 different hazards on your map, I'm going to deduct you 5 points, meaning that Ascension gets dropped down from 63 to 58. But boy, I'm still not done yet. 3 of those hazards were high tier risks. And then an extra 3 of those hazards were miscellaneous risks, which can be ranked anywhere, but all 3 of them ranked below 20 points. So I'm going to add another rule where if you get over 5 high tier risks, so any risk that is below 30 points when ranking, I'm going to give it another -5. Now, it sounds like I'm hating on Ascension, but if you're not going to be safe, then I'm going to rank you down for it. So even though Ascension got a 63, it has actually been put straight back down to 53 out of 100 in total. This now becomes our lowest ranked map ever on this series, just in time for these monkeys to come in. Look, see how close that was to nearly hit me then? That's what I was talking about earlier. So yes, I might be being pretty ruthless with this map, but I'm sorry, if you have that many issues, you need to be pegged down a tier. The health inspector will definitely be back to check on you because you are now, Ascension, the lowest rated map on our tier list. But that is going to do us for today. We have ranked yet another map. Next up on the list, we have none other than Call of the Dead. Now, I want to know your predictions for Call of the Dead. What do you reckon it's going to get? Where do you reckon it's going to be on the overall ranking? Let me know in the comments down below. Now, just before you all leave, if you would like to leave a like on the video, that would be greatly appreciated. It means so much to me, and it gives me the indication that you guys do actually like this series and want it to continue. And just one final push from me. I've set myself a goal to get 2,000 subscribers by the end of the year. So if you guys could be generous enough to hit that subscribe button, again, I would greatly appreciate it. But apart from that, I'm going to leave you with our newest, worst rated map of Call of Duty Zombies. Signing off until next time. I hope you have enjoyed, and I shall see you later.